You're standing by the kettle waiting for it to boil, and you realise you can hear the faint, high pitched whine of the fridge compressor kicking in right next to you. Think about that for a second. For around 30 years, this kitchen was a loud, chaotic machine. There were shoes kicked off by the back door that you tripped over, someone slamming the front door, someone shouting from upstairs about a missing phone charger, and the constant background thud of music you didn't particularly like vibrating through the floorboards. You used to sit in your car on the driveway for 5 minutes after a brutal shift just to prep yourself for the noise before walking through the door. But today you're standing here, the kettle clicks off, and there's absolutely nothing. The kids have packed up, moved out, and started their own lives. And instead of feeling the massive sense of relief you promised yourself you'd feel 10 years ago, your chest feels incredibly tight. We spend the first half of our adult lives complaining about the clutter and the noise. We grumble about the bills, the endless lifts to places we don't want to go, and the sheer volume of stuff occupying our space. Then almost overnight, the tide goes out. You wake up on a Saturday morning and the house stays exactly how you left it the night before. The cushions on the sofa aren't moved. The kitchen counter is spotless. But then the physical reality of it hits you in the supermarket. You're walking down the aisle, and out of pure habit, you reach for the big family sized cereal box or the massive sack of potatoes, and you stop. Your hand hovers over the shelf, and you realise you don't need to buy that anymore. You look down at your trolley, and it looks absurdly empty. Not empty exactly, just smaller than it used to be. You get home, as you walk upstairs, the house feels different. You can actually hear the thud of your phone footsteps on the treading. You pass your eldest child's old room and the door is halfway open. The lights stay off in there now. There are no wet towels on the floor, no half-empty mugs on the desk, just an empty mattress and some blue tack on the wall where a poster used to be. It's not depression, it's just that your daily operating system has completely run out of instructions. The physical inputs that you used to manage every single hour have vanished, and you're left navigating a space that feels less like a home and more like a curated museum of who you used to be. I think this is where the pressure actually shifts, and it's something we rarely admit to anyone else. The quietness inside the house highlights the quietness outside it. When the domestic noise drops away, you suddenly notice that your phone doesn't ring anymore, unless it's a delivery driver or an automated text message from a utility provider. The casual, easy social network you had in your 30s, the blokes you see at five-a-side, the parents you'd have a quick conversation with because your kids went to the same school, it's all evaporated. The background structure of your social life is still there, but the people have all quietly logged off. You look at your calendar for the next month, and outside of work obligations and the odd formal family dinner, it's a vast blank landscape. I suspect this is the point where a lot of us start pulling back, because looking at that empty space feels like a performance review we're failing. We start convincing ourselves that we actually prefer being isolated. We tell ourselves we're just settling down or finally enjoying the peace. If I'm honest, I don't think we're enjoying it. We're just hiding from the awkwardness of having to reinvent how we connect with the world in midlife. The older I get, the more I realise we're brilliant at managing a crisis and surprisingly bad at handling a quiet afternoon. Most of us are fantastic when there's a problem to solve. If the roof leaks, if the finances get tight, or if there's a family emergency, we're completely in our element. We know how to roll up our sleeves, figure out the logistics, and steady the ship. We feel useful. We're the protectors and the providers. But when the job is finished, when the kids are successfully raised out of the house and the career is just ticking over at a steady speed, we don't know how to just exist in the space we've built. Without a heavy load to haul every day, our minds start creating internal friction. We start overanalyzing small interactions at work. We worry about minor health anomalies. We look in the mirror and wonder how we became the older bloke in the room without noticing that transition. All that energy has to go somewhere. So, how do we steady ourselves here? First, we have to stop treating this quiet phase as a personal demotion. It's not a sign that our usefulness is over, it's just the natural end of a specific chapter. The house is quiet because you actually succeeded in doing what you set out to do 30 years ago. You stabilised the environment and launched your kids into the world. But recognising that success means realising the old structural framework won't support the next 20 or 30 years. The temptation is to double down on the isolation, To sit in the comfortable chair, turn the telly on, and let the weeks roll past because it's easier than putting yourself out there. The people I've seen navigate this best are the ones who realise that the silence isn't a permanent state, it's just an empty slate. The weight of midlife doesn't lift because someone gives you permission. It lifts when you accept that your old role is gone, and the job of figuring out what comes next belongs entirely to you. Because the alternative is letting the quietness settle in permanently. You stay in the chair, you let the weeks blur into months, and you let the boundaries of your world shrink until they're exactly the size of your living room. The house stays perfectly clean, the radiators stay perfectly balanced, and nobody comes through the door. Think about that the next time you're standing by the kettle.